like I said, I'm really, really, really passionate about architecture and urban planning. Urban planning is one of the most like neglected policy areas outside of like sustainability. It's incredibly important to our day-to-day lives, and nobody gives a shit about it. Mm-hmm. Biden's transportation policy plans revolve around automobiles and resurfacing roads, making all that stuff better. Granted, our infrastructure is not good at all. However, we need exponential, like, more amounts of public transportation and to make the systems better, because like our urban areas are expanding. You know, our roads, like Chicago, for example, is the Great Fire in 1871. We were able to have the city rebuilt on a grid then. However, that was over 100 years ago. Cars weren't a thing then, right? Mm-hmm. So now we have more people in the metro area than ever before, more cars on the roads. It's deterring things faster, and you're not able to get to and from work quicker. And on top of it, how many electric vehicles? You know, it's still a fraction of what it should be. So we're producing more carbon emissions from our vehicles. You know, we still have a huge dependence on oil in that case. Mm-hmm. And when you look at it, like, it has a resounding effect through the entire economy and just like our day-to-day lives, because, you know, we're so automobile focused and automobile driven. And in 2020, trying to invest more money and more capital into that just isn't wise. Yeah. It's a very outdated like view of transportation and urban policy. And it's just, it's completely ineffective. You look everywhere else around the world and they just don't think like this, and they have better lives, and they have older cities. They found different ways to incorporate public transportation and bicycles and how they lay their cities out so that we can really take advantage of alternate ways to get to and from places that are more efficient than everybody getting, one person getting into a 4-person car, a 5-person car, a 6-person car, and taking up all that space. It's just like, that to me was the like straw in the basket. Yeah. It was just like, there is no way I will vote for Biden in the primary. Like, not that I would have anyways, but like once I saw that became like I need to get like active and go talk to my people and make sure they know about this. Yeah. Because I evangelize about like urban planning policy. Like, it's my job. It's super important.
And that's something that I think people don't think about. Yeah. And that they would be behind you if they were just told about it. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody's going to argue with you like, yeah, I want a bullet train. Or like, you know, like I want things that get me there quicker. Mm-hmm. I want more trains that connect so we don't have to fly. Yeah. I want more trains that connect to major cities of America. Yeah. How cool would it be if we had a train system, a mass like bullet train system, we're talking super fast, that goes from each major city across the country. So there's some way to connect LA to New York. There's some way to connect, even if it's, you got to hop on a couple and you got to make some connections at some stations. Yeah. How amazing would that be?
It would be amazing. The one problem with that is right now, and this is kind of the thing that's hindered America throughout from, you know, the word go, after we, you know, won independence, filed the Constitution, all that sort of good stuff. The significance of states' rights and like the commerce clauses that states get to decide affects all of that. Because Amtrak is the, you know, the, like, I forget, it's publicly subsidized, but it's the train company that gets us to and from. That's Union Station and stuff. Mm-hmm. Indiana, you know, our next door neighbor just to the east, will not allow Amtrak to run more than like 2 trains through Indiana a day or something. It's really obscure, but like, they don't allow you to run trains as often as you would think, because Amtrak actually in the last year has been trying to like get more regional train service. So more trains from Chicago to Milwaukee, Chicago to Detroit, Chicago to Indianapolis, Chicago to Louisville, Chicago to St. Louis. But Indiana is really like hampering that process. Why, I have no idea.
Yeah, that seems dumb.
They are, you know, they have the ability because it's their state, and they don't want more trains, more commuter trains, you know, more passenger trains.
Well, and so that's where the argument for me would be, for certain things like this, you know, the private aspect is not the best way to do it, because you kind of need it to be just a, hey, this is for the collective good. Yeah. We're all going to just agree that we're going to put, instead of maybe let's take a few billion out of the military industrial complex, and let's put it into maybe, you know, some kind of infrastructure.
You could even spin it like, God forbid anything ever happen here. You know, we have a great rail system. We can get supplies to and from.
Yes,
you can appease some generals in some capacity.
Helps your defensive structure, right?
Exactly.
That's the whole reason why we have an interstate, was for that exact reason. So the same concept of the interstate, let's apply that to mass transportation.
Dude, it would be so clutch. I mean, Chicago has a great transit system, but if you look at the CTA map, right? Everything, it's a wheel and spoke system. So everything comes to the hub, which is the loop, and then it breaks out. Except when you go to the south and southeast sides where there's a huge population, but there isn't any light rail. The L stops at the Green Line at 63rd and Stony Island, 63rd and King Drive, something like that. Near-ish the University of Chicago. But the University of Chicago, one of the best, biggest research universities in the world, in the country, you can't get there except for taking, there's 2 buses that go there.
Yeah, which that's
right.
Yeah, that sucks.
Right. There's a
buses
ton of
suck. I mean, I'm in favor of them.
The buses are good. They're useful, but
they're late all the time
compared to the L, where the only other traffic are other L trains.
Yeah.
It's just mind-boggling, and there's huge amounts of the population in the city of Chicago that doesn't have access to it. It's the only access they have is the Metra Electric District, which is more expensive. It doesn't run as frequently, and it's on an old infrastructure, so it breaks down a lot.
So how could we upgrade the L more than just laying new track, which I think we should do too?
Yeah.
How can we make it so it's not so fucking loud? There are quieter trains that exist in the world. So why is the L the loudest train I've ever heard?
I don't know. That's a great question. Because I've been to New York too, and the subway is pretty loud, but the Blue Line, if you're walking on the Blue Line in Wicker Park on Milwaukee Avenue, oh my God, now after years of walking under it, I will cover my ears because I think I'm going to hurt and harm my hearing.
Yes.
If I don't protect my ears.
It's noise pollution.
Yeah.
It's straight up noise pollution.
It's crazy. Well, part of that with the Blue Line, and I think they tried to fix it a few years ago, but that track was very old. Very old. It was that part of the Blue Line actually was part of the Lake Street L when it was originally built. So it'd go from Lake Street, it'd come in, and then it would V out up Milwaukee Avenue, and then it would terminate at Logan Square. And that particular part was very old, and it's the loudest part of the track. And I think that's why. I think it's just old infrastructure. It's old rickety cast iron and steel.
How much does it cost to fix it?
I don't know. I do know that they're working on a red line reimprovement plan that's been going on for a few years. And before they started that is when they were working on the Blue Line, and they redid the stations and some of the track. But I think they would realistically, they would actually have to shut down the Blue Line for the better part of a year. Yeah. Between Division and Belmont to actually build new structures to lay the track on that aren't as noisy. I think New York has similar problems, but the trains are just a little different too. They're a little bigger and they don't run as fast, I think. Or maybe they run faster, which sometimes can make the sound less. But yeah, it's weird, man. I don't know. The Green Line isn't quite as loud.
Yeah.
The Pink Line is. The Blue Line right there is terrible.
The Brown Line's pretty loud too, I find the Brown Line's pretty loud.
The Brown Line's weird too because that's a super, super old section of track. It was a private train company for a while before it all got consolidated, and that's why it takes forever. It's got all these little stops, and you can't they can't open up the throttle or anything to actually move.
Yeah, you can't because you're stopping every 5 seconds.
Yeah, seriously, it's every 600 feet. You throw a baseball as far as you can, between stations.
Yeah, no, literally, it feels like that, and that's why the red line is so much faster.
Yeah,
where you'll tread a lot of the same track for periods of time, and the red line's just cooking past the brown line.
Yeah, that's nuts, man. We take it for granted how effective it is compared to BART or MARTA in the Bay Area or Metro Atlanta, but it there's still a lot to be desired. Yeah. And the wheel and spoke system, it's good, it does its job, but the fact that there isn't any north-south light rail west of the loop, it's not good. Yeah. People got to get, not everybody lives in the business district, not everybody works there.
But the people who are passing the laws do, and so that's all they care about. Yeah, it's only what they care.
They have
what
tried
they're
to
being affected by.
Well, and part of it too is the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago have no money at all.
Well, it's corrupt. I mean, so whatever money's there, it goes to who knows where.
But they've been doing the express bus lanes on Ashland and Western and stuff too, which is good. That's been a few years as a pilot program. It helps, but I mean, at the end of the day, those are still 2 of our main thoroughfares. At their widest, there's still 4 lanes, and Western is, I Western Ashland are like the two most traversed streets in the city. Like there's more traffic on those than anywhere else. So an express bus on the busiest street is still a bus on the busiest street.
Yeah, and that's where you run into the problem that you were saying before of too many cars on the road in the first place.
Yeah, see, it all comes back, man. Like it all, like if we were to just like not have as many cars or more ways to get places, like your quality of life would go up. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't be getting road rage. You wouldn't be, screaming because it took you an hour to get home because there was that much traffic on a 4-lane street that was planned in 1873.
Yeah. Well, and I guess my question is, because I don't know enough about this stuff, but I do care about it from the standpoint of I'd love to see us actually go to the 21st century, is like who's in charge of making these big decisions? I'm assuming they're engineers of some kind, right? Like,
yeah. Yeah, so there's a couple of different people who are involved with like the decision-making process. There's a director of planning who they just brought in. I forget her name, but she had a lot of success in Minneapolis. Lori Lightfoot got like a new and innovative person, which is very good. The Civic Federation, which is kind of a watchdog group with how the city spends its money. They do a lot of urban planning and they do a lot of like studies to figure out how much things are and how possible they are. And then the University of Chicago does a lot of research and that sort of stuff as well. So you get kind of like in any other sector of like government, you're seeing groups that are trying to figure out how to do things better. There are groups that are trying to figure out how much it's going to cost the taxpayer. And then, there's the people in the government office who have to implement it. For a long time, the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois have had intense cronyism. So you didn't have professionals in posts for a long time. My dad, he worked for the mayor's office back in the middle 70s. He's old, not a super old guy. He's kind of old. That's my guy. Shout out, Dad. And he was tasked with doing an audit of how this was when the Sky was being built on the southeast side, with like how they were spending their money and what's this, what's that. And he was telling me, he's like, he started digging around and all these like crony guys from the southeast were like, kind of tried to intimidate him about like you're digging around stuff that like you have no business digging around. Like you write this down, you send it back, and that's it.